little baby. What did you just do? Make mommy mad? We didn't even get out of the airport yet. Why are you making mommy mad? Are you happy to be in Taiwan again? What are you looking forward to?
I don't know.
You don't know? Some good food?
Yeah?
And Pokemon machines? Hey guys, we've got a really spicy video lined up for you, but first, I wanted to let you know that we need your support.
Right now, for $4.99 a month, you can support us on Patreon in our long game tier. And basically, we put out 2 videos every month where we talk about the financial aspects of TCG, something that we don't really talk about on the main channel.
Not on the main channel. You gotta pay to play, guys.
All the money currently goes to supporting myself and also FaBled Runaways to kind of help us pave our way forward in the competitive scene.
None of this is going in my pocket, and historically I have not taken a cent from this, and all the giveaways, all the other stuff, that is being funded by me as well. I want to give extra reinforcement to the FaBled Runaways as well as Yuanji in his quest to build and manage and lead a team that hopefully will take down a championship, whether it's in North America or whether it's one of the majors worldwide. Let's go Worlds, FaBled Runaways. All right. Welcome to FaBled Hunters.
I'm Yuanji.
I'm Saint.
And we're doing this online. We're not together because Saint's traveling in Taiwan for, I think you have some business there.
Yep, some business, some health maintenance.
Mm-hmm.
All good. All is good.
Yeah,
but we didn't want to like slack on our content making, and we've kind of had a rhythm, so we're trying to make it work, right?
Yeah, so
we need to deliver.
It's the beginning of the month, and you know that what that means. It's time for last month.
Last month today. That's right. It's last month today.
Yeah, and so
time for a quick recap of the world of TCGs in the past month.
Yeah, so it's been, I think, at least in Flesh and Blood, quite a lot of things have happened in the last month. But we just wanted to go over some of the other non-Flesh and Blood related news before we get into all the things in Fab. And so I wanted to start the episode out. Shout out to one of my really good friends, Christian Calcano, for getting second place at the most recent Magic Pro Tour in Barcelona. And
shout out to Christian.
And he, I don't know, like we hit on Magic, or we hit on Wizards a lot, and Hasbro on this show. But I have a lot of respect for all the people who are playing Magic competitively. And I think it's generally seen a lot of positivity regarding in-person events. And, you know, I think it's kind of like a rising tide floats all boats kind of thing, where I think if everybody is really excited about getting in person, playing card games, I think that it'll probably be good for the entire industry as a whole.
That's your take. I don't necessarily disagree. Not currently.
Yeah.
But two things. One, I'd have more respect for Christian and his colleagues if they started trying to, they started playing Flesh and Blood.
Sure.
Right. And two, well, I guess in terms of a rising tide lifts all boats. As long as my share prices are fine.
Oh yeah, that's right. You're financially tied now to the success. Okay. The next kind of topic that we wanted to talk about is there's 2 games that are kind of launching in the last month slash at the beginning of August, and it's Sorcery, I believe. Did they launch their beta or what? There was like a lot of movement for the initial, I think, Kickstarter alpha product.
Yes, I think the Kickstarter alpha has presumably gone and landed in most, if not all, homes.
Mm-hmm.
And that secondary market movement is kind of insane. I'm not surprised because we saw similar things happen with MetaZoo,
mm-hmm.
but I also think that this is a little different because it feels to me that the appreciation is a lot more genuine and rooted in similarities between old MTG art as well as the appreciators of art in Sorcery.
Mm-hmm.
The box prices, are actually the alpha case prices, jumped up to 6,000 plus
Yep.
just a couple weeks before filming of this video. But in the past week, It's actually dropped down to the low 4,000s, or actually around 4,000. I remember an eBay data point
Yeah.
down to 4,000. So, this parabolic move, this high swingy ups and downs is sometimes driven by FOMO, but underneath all of it, there seems to be some legitimate demand and legitimate passion and appreciation for the game. I have to admit that I was lukewarm about the game, and
Mm-hmm.
I probably still am. But I'm slightly surprised and, pleasantly pleased that a game is still able to make waves like Sorcery has with its alpha. And I also will say I don't need to disclose, but I've been approached with some opportunities that might involve collaborations with Sorcery. They're in discussions. So I've got to stay on my best behavior there too. Weird how the business of
Yeah.
TCGs, you
Yeah.
kind of have to tiptoe around. So, no smack talking Hasbro, and well, I got to stay neutral about Sorcery. So,
Yeah. I've heard
I
that
don't
they
know. It's like that's my whole spiel. I'm missing out
you're
on
an instigator.
the event here.
I've heard that they've made some. I haven't kept up with Sorcery that much, but I think like offhand in some random conversations that I've taken a look at, I believe that they've made some improvements over the initial. I think when they were like first prototyping. So I mean I hope that the game does well. Uh, do you think it's we don't want to I don't want to get into the market like too much, but like you mentioned MetaZoo and Sorcery and like all of these products that are going through these like parabolic upswings, and like Flesh and Blood happened as well, right? Like not maybe not immediately after its launch, but like afterwards. Is that just like the norm now for like a lot of these like games or like these like
No.
niche
I
products?
have to say it's probably still the exception.
Yeah,
Flesh and Blood was the first exception out of many hundreds.
yeah,
MetaZoo, I think, was manufactured because we've said this. I've been very opinionated about it that, there were content creators that maliciously drove eyeballs away from Flesh and Blood, saying MetaZoo is the next greatest thing. By the way, we're not going to do a MetaZoo minute. However, if you look at the interest on Google of MetaZoo searches versus Flesh and Blood or Sorcery, I just love to see that flat line, because when literally nobody cares, that's how you know that an IP's um, DOA. So yeah, but moving on, I think Sorcery just is experiencing a lot of appreciation and a lot of expanding demand from the poor moves by certain other
yeah,
fantasy
yeah.
TCG IPs,
Sure.
and that's what's driving it. And it also doesn't hurt that notable names like for example, I saw on the Sorcery Moxen, like Melissa Benson,
Okay.
her artwork in that very iconic M is all over it, like the Onyx Talisman or Amethyst, whatever they are. Those
Yeah.
they're basically Moxen guys, So yeah, they've got some really awesome art on them. It really does harken back to 93, 94 Magic. So yeah, I'm happy. This is one thing where I'm just not even a little, salty or a little
Hmm.
skeptical. I'm just like, hey, good for them. This is probably regulating the market in its own way.
Yeah. The other game that we wanted to talk about is Lorcana. So Lorcana,
Huh?
I believe, is releasing very soon. And basically the news that kind of broke out initially was the distribution numbers were given to all of the stores,
Mhm.
and they were very low. I've heard stories of stores receiving as low as like half of a starter brick, which is
Mhm.
kind of crazy to think about. Like if you're supplying product and you want the stores to sell and promote organized play, they should at least get like one starter brick, right, of 10.
Yeah, at
Uh
the very least, right? If
yeah,
not
but
more.
but then there was like a lot of initial criticism about that and then I think later on they said that there's going to be like another wave of Lorcana product, and there was I think some initial confusion about whether or not it would be distinguishable like a first print, second print kind of situation, but I don't think that's the case. I think that they're just indistinguishable products. So I guess like the takeaway is that there's some launch struggles in getting the game off the ground in a, I guess, in like a smooth manner, right? Like if you were launching a product like this, it would not be ideal.
Yeah, it sounds a lot less than ideal. First, the litigation between Upper Deck and Ravensburger,
Mm-hmm.
right? And now, it's like, our LGS has whatever 300 people attending it, and we've got 5 starter decks for all 300 people. Yeah, that's that's suboptimal to say the least. And I mean, it's like, what does Lorcana have going for it? It's got foils that cold foil ripoffs. Hey guys, they identify as in demand and very valuable. Please buy our product. And not even that, guys. I mean, Magic in 93 had alpha, and then they differentiated themselves with beta because there was more demand.
Yeah.
Because they had set that precedent. Like, okay, this batch is this batch. That's the first printing. Beta's a second printing. Oh crap, you need more? Here's unlimited. Oh crap, well, that's all we want to print. Let's bring out collector's edition and international collector's edition in a non-tournament legal manner so that people can enjoy this TCG. Just like Flesh+Blood has, the first edition alpha and then unlimited later on. I mean, they changed it. We know that. Anybody after Uprising knows we changed it. But it sets a really bad precedent because, look, you've got your first printing, you've got a reprinting, but the reprinting's indistinguishable from the first printing. So that sends a signal to collectors. Like all of the, for example, another TCG, Weiss Schwartz, they had their first printing in like gold ink, for example, their second printing in silver.
Yeah.
And they kind of shat the bed with some of my favorite properties, which I have heavy bags on, the Attack on Titan items, where they reprinted Attack on Titan season 1 and 2, and then all of the Weiss Schwartz, collector verse, they're like, screw this. You guys just went back on your word, and it was almost like Magic 30 levels of, implosion of values in Weiss Schwartz. But I mean, Lorcana's doing that literally day one. I don't know what that signals to, the market.
I'm gonna take a different takeaway from that. Lorcana is built off of the Disney IP, and we know Disney is like a huge IP, right? And so I think if the goal is to have Lorcana be a game that is more similar in distribution, let's say to like modern Pokemon, where it's like a lot more widely available and less so focused on just like the collector aspect, I can kind of understand where they're coming from. Like, it's not, I guess, as risky to, like, let's say if you're a Flesh+Blood, if you're a Sorcery, whatever, you have to start off like small because you don't know if like what the extent of your demand is. You don't know like how much you can bite off, but I feel like maybe like they think that because they have the Disney IP behind them that they can just like, just be a player in the space.
I don't know, Yuanji. If you look at their main space, which is parks and entertainment and media, they're not doing too well right now. They're kind of not doing well on TV.
I'm just trying to play the devil's advocate. Well, that's all I think that we have to say on Lorcana.
Hey, I just have to say, Yuanji, my last thing about Disney, I got to get my dig in.
Get your dig on.
Lorcana, if all else fails, they can just start virtue signaling with the strong feminist roles, and they can start role swapping and race swapping all the traditionally Caucasian characters and make them Latino, Asian, and Black. That'll really, get people buying the products. Take one out of Black Aragorn's book. Take a page out of WotC there.
Yeah, I don't know if how the strategies are gonna play out, but in Magic the Gathering news, this happened actually pretty recently. It was at the beginning of August slash the ending at the end of July. So
Yeah.
we knew that the One Ring had been opened and it got sent to PSA, got graded out of 9. And well, props to the guy who sent it in for grading and had the card authenticated because it looks like it was the right move. He sold the card to Post Malone for what's rumored to be $2.6 million. And
Yeah.
I think they pushed out a video on social media about how he met Post Malone and it was like really cool interaction and everything. I think for his story, I mean, my take on it is that it's like a sick story for him, like a feels good story. You like Magic, you're cracking these collector boxes, whatever. You open the One Ring, you basically like won the lottery, right?
Yeah, and there's that lottery feel, and it made a huge headline. And for that guy, I just have to say, there are very few instances where you're gambling and you can literally leave the casino up and
Mm-hmm.
leave up in that capacity. The saddest tale would be if he ended up deploying 2.5, maybe over $2.6 million, aping back into TCGs, thinking that you could chase the dragon a second time. I know it sounds far fetched, but you've got lottery winners that, they think they're invincible after they win
Yeah.
and they go back into gambling and then they lose even more than they won. And that would be a really sad story.
Yeah. I
But
mean, not
kudos to
only
that guy.
yeah, not only gambling, but it's just I think it can be like tough to manage when you get all the money all at once. I
Yep.
I did see something that was being floated around on social media, which was kind of a less than positive outlook on this situation, where it like once you have the precedence where Wizards knows that they can print a card that's worth like millions of dollars, right? And that there's a market for it. Like the game is not necessarily marketed only towards children, but children are in the demographic of these trading card games. Like there's some ethical like gray area where it's like, well, now you're selling lottery tickets to children.
Okay.
And there's been like a crackdown, not in the TCG space, but like in the realm of there's a lot of like mobile games or video games that are like predatory in nature,
Mhm.
where they try to feed off of like children's addictive personalities before they have the experience to learn how to like manage. It's not even their money, right? It's their parents' money,
Yep.
and in a
Yep.
lot of
Yep. Yep.
cases.
And I mean, this whole situation about optics just brings up a certain question. I didn't think we'd cover this specific topic. This is totally on the fly, but Post Malone is widely considered a brand ambassador for Wizards of the Coast and Magic the Gathering.
Yeah.
I don't know what financial ties, if any at all, he has with the company, but I mean, I don't listen to his music, nor do I appreciate anything that he puts out, but I hear he's talented and he's intelligent and he's a successful businessman.
Yeah.
That said, his first move into Magic the Gathering was to buy a beta artist proof signed Black Lotus by Christopher Rush, and he spent $800,000. I can tell you personally, having very very high amounts of information within the secondary market and the high end market, that at that time there were literally identical artist proofs being floated around. There was one on the Facebook market, two for $50,000, one post, two signed artist proof Black Lotuses for $50,000 in the same week prior to Post Malone. And I know the transaction. Jim Brusso of Graded Power actually transacted the deal, and I hit him up about it privately, and I was like, "Whoa, you just totally overcharged him. You murked him." And he's like, "Hey, that's what he's willing to pay, and it is what it is." And I just think I'm like, all right, somebody who's a musical talent, who's a great businessman, who's a worldwide recognized icon, shouldn't be paying 33x or whatever, $800,000 on $25,000. whatever. What is that?
It's like 3.5 times.
That's 32x because 25,000 versus
Oh,
800.
you said. I thought you said 500,000.
No, 25,000.
Okay, yeah.
These identical artist booths were
Yeah.
25,000 each prior to this Posty debacle.
Yeah,
And I'm just like,
that's pretty
look,
gross.
that's like $1 million house, or let's say $100,000 house. All of a sudden some guy buys it for 3.2 million.
Yeah.
That's literally what is happening here. And some part of me, I'm not making any accusations, but some part of me just says maybe something's up. Maybe this is a publicity stunt by the publisher.
I don't know if you've watched any of the content, but there's like content all the time where like they get like celebrities to go into, I think it's called like Fly. I forgot what this. It's like a sneaker store, and then they just like buy these like crazy overpriced sneakers. I think it's like kind of like a similar type of thing, right? It's like flexing spending power and wealth.
A little bit, but I'm just saying, like $2.6 million for a card that was printed in 2023, and it's a 9, so it's way imperfect.
Yeah.
And it's just an extended art rare version of a $40 card that's you could pull in any old pack, right? Because the regular One Rings are like 35, 40. I mean, there were 60 like 2 weeks ago, or 60 to 80, and they've plummeted. And the collector boosters have started declining back down to 400, sub 400 as well.
Yeah.
So, paying 2.6 million for something that he had an open offer out through the proxy. I heard that he proxy bid through DA Cardwell. That $1 million bid was his. And then let's say you really, really want something and you were willing to spend 1 million on it, and all of a sudden just going up to 2.6 million.
Yeah.
I'm just saying something fishy is going on. Again, I'm happy for the guy that pulled it. I'm happy for the guy that received the 2.6 million. I even believe that if the rumors were true, that he did actually receive 2.6 million. But I mean, to be fair, what is 2.6 million to a company that's about to report earnings literally 10 hours from the filming of this video?
Yeah.
Right? And the timing of everything, right?
Sure.
That blown info came out in the past 24 hours, and the quarter 2 earnings report is happening literally, I think it's 8:30 a.m. or 9 a.m.
Yeah.
Right now it's 11:30 p.m. the night before. 9 hours. So
Well,
like 48 hours before, the largest transaction in Magic the Gathering history is there, followed by presumably a really strong earnings report. I mean,
we'll see if your holdings net you some more profits as a result of the news.
Hey, on that note, I mean, Bank of America, same analyst that was digging at them for Magic 30 in November. He turned around and he gave them a strong buy. He's promoting them. I think Squawk Street and CNBC, MSNBC, all those guys have been talking it up. So, hey, that's just what I'm saying. I'm not shilling. The viewer base of Fabled Hunters isn't going to go out and buy a whole bunch of Hasbro stock, and presumably earnings will drop. Earnings will definitely have been out, and I'm probably already going to be out of the position by the time viewers see this episode. So,
all right,
fingers crossed. Has to $6,900. It's probably going to break 69 a share. That's my target price.
Okay,
but I think it has a chance of going above, and that's where I'm going to leave that at for now. Enough about Hasbro stock. None of this is financial advice.
Yeah. We're just riffing. There's is there anything else from anything non-Flesh and Blood that you wanted to go over before we move on to Flesh and Blood news?
Really quick, before we jump into the meat and potatoes of Flesh and Blood, I just wanted to give the Tall Timmy a big shout out. Mm-hmm. I know I'm late to the party by now, but Tall Timmy team, aka Paul, Small Paul, he is still somebody I consider a dear friend, somebody that I had so much fun just hanging out with, interacting with, making small little bits of content with here and there throughout the years. And I don't know what is going on. I'm super curious, but I'm also being very respectful of his privacy.
Yeah.
It just looks like it's something serious. and I hope for nothing but the very best for Tall Timmy. I don't. It doesn't look like he intends on making any more content because he deleted all of his content. But I hope he does come back. He's been an asset to Flesh and Blood. He's an icon. There's some people that are complete twats in the Facebook groups, like who? It's like, guys, you don't have to be dicks. Just because you showed up yesterday and you bought a pack of Dusk Till Dawn doesn't give you the right to be self-important and dismissive of the people that built this community, took it on their backs. And Tall Timmy is one of those individuals. I don't want to get too sentimental, but he's important to me, and his departure from the content creator world of Flesh and Blood, the community, will be missed. At least, definitely by me.
Yeah, I had a lot of good times like hanging out with Paul during events, and
Yep.
so yeah, I echo your sentiment. I'm wishing him the best for whatever choices that he has to make in order, like that, whatever drove him to move away from Flesh and Blood. Hopefully
Yeah,
he is doing well.
absolutely. I agree completely. And hey, buddy, if you ever hear this or listen to this content, if you need a buddy that can help you out legally or financially, I'm volunteering to being that guy. And there's nothing that a couple of strong men with sharp minds can't solve together.
All right. Well, with that being said, let's move on to Flesh and Blood news. So it's been quite a packed month for kind of things that are changing in Flesh and Blood. Some of it is stuff that's happening, not necessarily like behind the scenes, but like kind of like on the back end of Flesh
Mhm.
and Blood, and some of it is very prominent. We kind of went over the ban and suspend announcement and the War of the Monarch pre-release on our last episode of last month today, but just
Okay.
wanted to go over like that happened at the beginning of the month. But then Skirmish Season 7 Blitz rules were introduced kind of in the second week of July, where now
Mhm.
you can sideboard in Blitz, and that's received kind of mixed feelings from some people, because I think for a lot of people Blitz is just like very easy, pick up and play, no sideboarding, whatever. You bring your 40 cards, you just play it, you pick your equipment. I wanted to see what you felt about these changes as somebody who started when the game first came out.
Yeah, I don't play enough these days to really have an idea of the impact, but I read the same article that you read, and I just got confused. I was like, well, whatever it is, 51 or 52 cards now in Blitz, you have to play a minimum of 40. What I remembered was you had your hero, you had equipment, you had secondary equipment that you got to change out, right? But
Yeah.
now you get to use that same pool of 11 or 12 cards, like presumably three, four, five cards, whatever the number is. It's less than seven, I think, because of your equipment slots. And you get to switch them out now. Doesn't that kind of just bend the whole idea of Blitz? Like quick and easy, you come in with what you got, you're meeting it's a random encounter with another hero, and you're just, what you got is what you got. And then may the best hero win, right? That's what Blitz felt like to me. And this seems to warp it a little bit. Like, I don't think it warps it to the point of getting outraged.
Yeah.
Maybe for a pro player, you're like, well, if arcane damage becomes too high in the meta, then it's good because in this application, you can put in more arcane barrier cards or take out some cards that potentially gimp your deck. I don't know. I
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
know, but that's my initial impression.
My feeling on it is that they are trying, or they have more human resources available at their company now to devote to trying to make Blitz a more competitive format. Where I think early on in the history of the game, they basically said that they didn't really balance the game around Blitz at all, right? And now they're making, they're making ban and suspend considerations when it comes to Blitz. They're like trying out like new rule sets, and all of these, I think, human resource hours, like you have to dedicate like a team to work on these things and to evaluate and see like what the feedback is, and how they think that it might impact the game in the future. I think it just means that they are kind of reaffirming that they're dedicated to Blitz as a competitive format.
Okay.
That's kind of my feeling about it. I think that they might be moving away from the Blitz is a casual format to Blitz is like the most played, because I believe Blitz is the most popular format. Blitz is like the most played competitive format, potentially. So I don't know.
Blitz now will be kind of like a mini CC, like a shorthand CC with
Mhm.
limited um, interaction with the sideboard. You know, it sounds like you're saying that it's a net positive. I was just confused. I mean, overall, I understand that narrative. It makes
Yeah,
sense. It's kind of like fleshing out the fleshing out of type 1 and type 2
yeah,
in
yeah.
Magic the Gathering in the mid 90s. And people were like, what the hell? You know, you got to take out this and what, like now counter spells are limited, or I forgot what happened. Swords to Plowshares, lightning bolts are now part of the old set, and this is getting phased out. And Wheel of Fortune is definitely vintage. And there's like a weird period of time where revised cards, there's like a divorce within the revised card pool
Oh, like
because of
some of the
type.
revised cards are type one, the other cards are not.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and people were just getting all outraged, and I was like, this is confusing.
Hmm.
Even as a very active player that was on the pavement or in the library tables,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, in the gaming tables of the library, they're supposed to be reading tables, but we made them gaming tables. But yeah, this is kind of similar to that, and I can see what you're saying. That puts the connection. This is history repeating itself, and it's just gelling now. I was a little confused, but overall, I mean, I always say you have to have faith in what Legend Story Studios is doing.
Yeah.
They've always improved. Not every single move is ideal, not every single step of every single move, but in the long run, it seems to all work itself out, which I kind of I kind of think we'll cover shortly. We're going to talk about Dusk Till Dawn at some point, right? So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, Worlds was announced and that it will take place in Barcelona, and this was announced on July 13th. I think that Worlds is supposed to happen. I believe it's going to be in November. I think a lot of people were kind of anticipating. James had some cheeky comments about how Worlds was going to be in a big city with bright lights, and more on that later. But
Well, big city and bright lights. I mean, France has plenty of bright lights from what I saw. They're
yeah,
burning everything down, right? What
yeah, yeah,
happened to France? They should have kept it in there.
yeah,
You
yeah.
know, you could
I
do have a good old barbecue outside of the the gaming hall.
Yeah, I think Spain is a pretty nice country to host an event. I think the cost of living is like a little bit more affordable for like everyone internationally, at least.
Yeah, I've
And
heard.
yeah, and then this just like I think just recently changed. Um, but basically to qualify into Worlds, I don't know if they just like increased the total number of people who are qualified, but I believe that they kind of walked back originally that they were only inviting, depending on your country's expected turnout,
Mhm.
top two, top four for like some of the smaller nationals. But now it looks like I believe all the nationals top eight players are going to receive a Worlds invite.
Oh wow, that's great.
So I don't know. I hope that the World Championship ends up being a very successfully run event. I think it'll be a great location, and it has to be better than the San Jose tent.
Yep, it's hard to get worse. Let me just say that just putting in personal experience, I spent 3 summers in a pretty hot tourist area between Valencia and Barcelona,
Hmm.
called crap Javia, which is off the Costa del Blanco or Blanco, which is like the white sand coast. It's in the southeast of Spain. Spain's just such an awesome country. Valencia is beautiful. I never of 3 years I never made it to Barcelona, but I obviously I'll make it this time.
Yeah.
And I can just say that the Costa del Blanco as well as Ibiza are really close to Barcelona. Barcelona.
Yeah.
I love that pronunciation that they do
Yeah.
with the C's. But yeah, I just want to have an open invite. If any people in the Fab Fam want to make a trip to Ibiza, like I'm volunteering to not organize, but I'm volunteering to attend the trip, and I'll at least buy a round of drinks because it would be fun. I don't know how much my wife and daughter will approve of me going to Ibiza, but it'll be interesting. I'm just throwing it out there. We should go check out Ibiza and
Yeah,
Barcelona.
maybe we'll do some videos when we're there. Show show the shenanigans. We kind of talked about Dusk Till Dawn release. Did you want to go over anything? Dusk Till Dawn obviously released after War of the Monarch events. What has been your kind of reaction to the launch of Dusk Till Dawn, and kind of how you think that the product has been received?
I just have to say that initially, just from a visceral like gut feeling, initially I was opening up cases ever since we opened up our first
Oh
case.
yeah, yeah.
The cold foil FaBled. I was like, wow, this is gonna be a great set. And I opened up like 3 or 4 more cases, and I was
Uh-huh.
like, this is an amazing set. And I was like, what is everybody talking about? Every box is great.
Yeah, yeah,
What people are like highs and lows.
yeah, yeah.
And then
You hit the
in
lows.
the recent video, and
Yeah,
there are a lot of upcoming videos, I learned firsthand how swingy this set is.
yeah, yeah.
And I don't know what it is. It's like the feast or famine component is so discouraging and demoralizing at some points,
Yeah.
but then it makes the win so much sweeter. I'm totally not trying to shill the set. I'm just being honest. Like it felt like Uprising just had too much. It had too much, and you became desensitized from opening. And finally, here, Dusk Till Dawn, I finally have to agree with everybody saying, "Oh my God, you could literally have like an anemic barren set or barren case with no hits in it, no legendaries." I think I hadn't I hadn't gotten hit with a no cold foil box
Yeah.
any first edition product I opened since Arcane Rising.
Yeah.
Like literally, even Crew first, I've opened up like hundreds, 500 or 600 plus boxes of Crucible first edition,
Yeah.
and I never hit a no cold foil box.
Uh-huh.
And I just have to say, I got hit with one in
Oh.
Dusk Till Dawn, and it summoned this PTSD from all the WTR Alpha,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
experiences, and I was like, oh crap, that feels familiar. Well, at least I didn't burn $5,000.
Well, when Dusk Till Dawn ages, let's say like 5, 10 years from now, and the boxes are gonna be however much they're gonna be, and somebody out there is gonna be opening a box, and they're gonna open a no cold foil box, and it's gonna be the same experiences that we have had multiple times on this channel.
But dude, I'm saying that's actually a good thing. You
Yeah.
don't want to just be rewarded every single box, every single case you open. It's like, oh, every case you open, oh, here's a cold foil legendary or fable. That's a good boy, You don't want that experience. And for Dusk Till Dawn, it brings back that experience. And I know I'm probably sounding like a little bit like, a masochist here, but you really, really swingy. It really puts in the ups and downs of that dungeon crawl where you could, fight a hard dungeon raid and, end up the boss dropping nothing or
Yeah.
like common cold foil.
Yeah.
Or then, it could drop like an $800 Marvel like the Levia,
Yeah.
which I haven't pulled in like 60 boxes, nor have I pulled or replicated that FaBled cold foil.
Yeah, yeah.
Kind of salty. But overall, this set seems to be an evolution of Legend Story Studios' thought process on how to create the perfect set.
Yeah.
Because Uprising, they hit Fab 2.0, started off on a really high note. I think Dynasty, it got a little perverse and warped with the, Marvel Weapons of War, with the Emperor, with the cold foil FaBled, the, Command and Conquer. It was just a little too much variance in value. And then Outsiders, it got really boring. And then now it's hype with all the right presentations. There's no, middle child of rarity. There's no
Yeah.
like cold foil Crown of Dominion that is superseded by, just completely outclassed by the Marvel. That situation doesn't happen. The seeding of the rares and the majestics and everything just seems to be like there's just enough majestics and rainbow foil majestics, non-foil and rainbow foil majestics, that you don't have that issue from Outsiders where the boxes are just barren, like
Yeah.
altogether barren. There's like a baseline amount of value. It's not like pooping out dragons, like they were the rarer dragons. They were just getting pooped out in every other pack, as well as the Marvel dragons in every other box in Uprising. Now you've got less than one. At least my run rate has been less than one Marvel Angel in a case, or in some cases maybe like half a Marvel Angel in a case, where you got to open on average 1.75 to 2 cases to get one Marvel Angel.
Mm-hmm.
I actually think that's great. And then on top of that, you've got Levia, that's presumably, I don't know, 1 in 200 boxes, the Marvel Levia. That's really hype. And then, you've got the Light of Soul, you got the Rainbow Foil FaBled and the Cold Foil FaBled at a pretty strong scarcity level, which is interesting. It's solid. It's solid.
Nice. I have a funny story about how when I was at one of the Battle Hardens, we were waiting for the top 8 to finish. It was like kind of dragged out. And so we wanted to do a draft. So I bought a box of Tales of Aria because it was like the cheapest box that MinMax was selling for like $50.
Okay.
And we drafted, and then
$50.
Yeah, $50.
First edition?
No, it was unlimited.
Okay.
But then one of the owners decided to be really nice and just gift us a box of Dusk Till Dawn to use as prize support. We were just gonna draft it. But the funny story is that in the Tales of Aria box, we opened a Rampart of the Ram's Head. And then the Dusk Till Dawn box was one of the no cold foil boxes.
Oh no!
And it was just like it ended up being that the Tales of Aria box was worth more. I don't know. You definitely get some lows, but I agree that I think it's a little bit more stable. I like the fact that there's on average I think around like 8-ish majestics that you get per box, rather than getting like in Outsiders you get like 6.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that they're making improvements. I think the biggest improvement that they made was that you alluded to was not having the 3 rarity tiers. Now I feel like when you open like the cold foil whatever, you and you get the feel, you don't get like the should I wait to celebrate, see what it actually is. No, like when you hit a gold foil or a cold foil hit, like that's a nice hit, right? No matter what.
Yeah. No matter what. Absolutely, yes.
So I think that they're making improvements. The next thing, there were some changes that they had made to the back end of how tournaments are run. So this probably doesn't affect you, at least immediately, but what they basically did was, I believe that for Flesh and Blood's inception, a lot of the policy guidelines and rules guidelines, they basically just like lifted directly from Magic the Gathering, how Magic the Gathering tournaments are run, what are the types of infractions, and how do you like handle these kinds of things. Sure. And so there's been, I think, a shift in this philosophy when it comes to stuff like triggers. So for people who are watching who aren't necessarily super into the weeds of playing like in tournaments, a trigger is something like you hit your opponent and your Briar, you get an embodiment of Earth token, right? So actually, when you're playing the tournament, you can like forget to put the token on the field.
Okay.
And when you're playing the tournament, you forget to put your token on the field, and then you do something else. In the old rules policy, you just don't get it. Like even though that's what your card says happens, you just don't get it.
Wait, is this like the Tunic?
So Tunic is an optional trigger, so you can actually still miss it. but
man. Sorry, Fino.
but yeah, but a lot of most of the things in this game, basically almost every single trigger in this game outside of Final Spring Tunic is not an optional trigger. So they changed the policy a little bit where you basically, as long as the game hasn't progressed too far, you can't be like, oh well, 3 turns ago I should have had this, so I should have one more life, whatever. Like that's like too difficult to rewind. But if it's like something,
if you can roll it back within reason,
yeah. But if it's something simple, it's like, hey, like I attacked, I forgot to put the token on, I passed, and I say, oh wait, before I pass my turn, I forgot to like put the token on the field, right? Nothing like really changes for you as like the person who is blocking, because like you made your blocks. Now they would rule in almost all cases that you just like get the token. And so I played in 2 tournaments where this type of rules policy was in effect. And you know, I gotta say it was a little bit of like a shock to kind of get used to initially, but it really fundamentally changes the dynamic of how you and the person who you're playing against interact with each other. Because I felt that, and this is true especially like in Magic, as somebody who's played Magic competitively as well, a lot of Magic, like when you play in person, is all about like remembering mechanically to like do all of these things that your cards do at the timings that you're supposed to do them in. And then if you like slip up whatever, your opponent is like, gotcha, and then you like miss out on it. And I remember when I was playing Magic feeling very bad about this element of the game, because it's like, well, if we were just playing like digital, like we were playing it like on Magic Online or whatever, where there's like a thing to like just enforce how the game is, like the rules
they're
operating.
They're guardrails, right?
Yeah.
So that you can't progress without getting those beneficial triggers.
Yeah, it's not even like beneficial, just like even like detrimental triggers. Like if we were playing where just like neither you nor I had like the burden of like making sure that we're playing legally, then like the games just like play out based off of how your draws are. Whereas now I feel like, oh well, the onus is on me to say the right words and move my like pieces around at the right times. And it's just like, it's like a game within a game. It's like a secondary like aspect of it. And now there's been like a lot of instances where, you know, some players in the past might have either been trying to angle shoot or whatever, and they try to like be like, oh well, you don't get this. And I admittedly in the past have been on the side of, well I'm not gonna like try to like make you miss your thing, but if you missed it, you missed it. But I found myself, after they made the rules policy change, and my opponent's like, oh, I missed this thing. I'm like, no, just call the judge. Like, I'm trying to help, not like help them play the game, but it's like, no, like you should just call the judge and explain like what happened. And then they'll probably,
you know
like,
what? I'm thinking about it too while you're telling me about this, because I didn't hear about this. It sounds like this is more of a community friendly rule, so that there's less rule sharking, there's less angle shooting, there's enough things to remember already in Flesh and Blood. It's a complicated as hell game. It's not draw one card, play a land, and you know everything else is static. It's everything at the same time is moving, and you've got 4 or 5 new variables on each side every turn. Whereas Magic is draw one card, right? That rule sharking, or that, you know, rigidity probably was a little more okay in Magic. And I've played in Fab, and I'm just like, there's so many things to remember. I've got this, I've got that, I've got, you know, what I need to do. I've got to do math in my hand about how many resources and how much life I got to keep my 3 blocks, and there's a lot going on. So I like this. I think this will encourage more people to try to go for it and play competitively. And to be fair, if you're already a pro like you and, you know, the FaBled Runaways are, then you guys can, you know, you'll have less stress, less things to worry about. You already have a lead in terms of your play experience. So you don't have to play sloppy. You shouldn't give yourself an excuse to play sloppy, play clean. But you can be more friendly and just, you know, remind yourself that it's a game and you're supposed to have fun, and you remind your competitors as well. And that makes for, a friendlier play space,
Yeah.
right?
I had some discussions with a lot of the players that play competitively that I'm friends with. And I think ultimately this change is kind of in line with what James had originally kind of set out to do, which is like a lot of the verbiage around rules policy is like, don't remember, like, we want your games to be determined by great games of flesh and blood. And
Yep.
it's all about whether or not you're
Not by
playing.
rules lawyering,
Yeah, it's
right?
like whether or not you're playing great games of flesh and blood. And ultimately that
Yeah.
should be, I think, what leads to a more positive, interaction.
Yeah. Big shout out to I presumably Joshua Scott
Yeah.
had a hand in this, had to have had a hand in it because he's Joshua Scott. He's, you know, the leader of the rules of the game of Fab.
Hmm.
So that's great. Even just as somebody that hasn't played a competitive game for like not a whole year, but multiple months, this sounds amazing, and it's making me interested to at least give another run at the pro quests or the calling level events.
Well, you're gonna have a chance because they announced for quarter 4 a bunch of new events that they're going to be hosting. Uh, Kind of capped off by the calling, which is going to happen in Melbourne. So I think Australia has been lacking like a major event for a long time. It was one of the
Okay.
what's one of the not the birthplace obviously, but like one of the first adopters of Flesh and Blood was Australia. So it's good to see that they're getting another large scale event, and then as well
Mhm.
as battle hardens in some of the newer regions, Rio de Janeiro in Brazil.
Oh, congrats, Brazil.
Hmm.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
Yep.
so also Vancouver, uh, Wallonia, Bangkok,
Where's
Orlando.
Wallonia?
I am not sure. I have to look that
Okay.
up. Pittsburgh, Wallonia, Bangkok, Orlando, and Hanover. So
Hanover. Is that like in New Hampshire or like Rhode Island, or is
no,
that a
no, no. I
different
think it's
country?
in Europe. I think Hanover's in Europe. A lot of great cities to have events, and hopefully we see Flesh and Blood's organized play, spread out to more regions. I know Japan just recently. I think there's a battle hardened in Tokyo happening in a couple months. So
Yep.
it's pretty exciting times, I believe. And I hope for these new regions to also get calling level events in the near future.
Congrats to all these cities and all the countries getting these major events. It sounds great.
Yeah. The battle hardened circuit is kind of underway, like the pre nationals circuit. There was 2 in the US, both won by Rhea Adams on Icelander. Then there was a calling in Birmingham in the UK, where Samuel Braben also won with Icelander. So it seems like we're returning to like an
Hmm.
Icelander centric meta.
Uh-oh.
3 Bravos in the top 8 in Birmingham. It's kind of an interesting time in competitive Flesh and Blood. Feeling both good and bad at the same time. Bittersweet, where I feel
Really?
like the game is probably balanced very well, but it makes it very annoying to prepare for.
I
Uh,
mean, this is weird though. I thought we were in a meta where Lexi was supposed to have her time in the sun, but Lexi seems to be suffering from that, always the bridesmaid, never the bride type of situation,
yeah, Lexi
right?
might be going through like a Chain. Like that was the story with Chain for a long time. I think Chain didn't get a major win for a long time until the Pro Tour.
Really?
But it is what it is. And to kind of cap off the news, at the very beginning of August, Bright Lights was announced. This article saying, you've seen it, it's, I
I
think,
read it twice. Yeah.
kind of crazy. It's like a completely different direction. I think the first thing that I thought of when I looked at the cards that they revealed was just
Mhm.
that the art style just like completely shifted, right?
The art style?
Yeah, because I feel
Oh, you
like,
mean like the steampunk, cyberpunk type of
yeah, because
look?
because we're like I think originally we were like, we have kind of like the not like realistic but like semi-realistic like fantasy like art
Yep.
style, and now we're
Yep.
fully in. I feel like I'm looking at like game pieces in like a steampunk like tabletop game, and it's like a lot more stylized pieces of art. and I think it's kind of cool. I also watched their teaser video.
Yep, the 55-second thing
Yeah,
on the Fab website. Yeah, I did too.
we might do a separate video talking about this announcement altogether. But do you have any like initial thoughts on Bright Lights?
Well, first off, it was emphasized like 2 or 3 times in the article that, oh my God, limited is now 4 packs. Am I
Yeah,
forgetting something? Was it like 6 packs and now down to 4? And
yeah. No,
that's
that's correct.
okay. So why is that such a big deal? I don't get that part.
I think it's so. I wanted to talk about this on our on a video that's like specifically focused on Bright Lights.
Okay.
But I think that Bright Lights, I am reading. So just like you were feeling that Dusk Till Dawn was like going to be an amazing set, I
Mhm.
feel the same way that Bright Lights has the potential to be also
Okay.
like an amazing set for Flesh and Blood as a game altogether. And
Okay.
and the fact that like the 4 pack sealed, so like the biggest difference I'll say to you, Saint, is that when you have a set where there's only one class, all of the cards in
Mhm.
your pool are playable. So
Oh,
whereas let's say if I
right.
was doing Outsiders sealed and
Yep.
I open my 6 packs, a lot of my time I spend like sorting through the cards. Even though I
Yep.
have
Yep.
6 packs worth of cards to pick from, once I've picked like whatever hero I want to play, basically most of my decisions are kind of like locked in place. Now I'm
Yep.
opening 42 cards. Let's say 4 of them are going to be equipment, and all the equipment I can use potentially. So we have like 38 cards, whatever, right? So
Mhm.
I'll choose like the best 30 out of the 38 cards that I want to be playing.
Sure.
And it's not necessarily a lot more decisions to be made, but I think it makes the whole process a lot simpler.
Sure.
And also this is the same feel that I got when they said that they were kind of trying to introduce this like 3 pack like shuffle up and play type of format as like a casual format. I
Yeah,
I
the jumpstart type of thing,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. And I am glad that you mentioned Jumpstart because I think that they're trying to do the same a similar kind of thing where they want to make it very easy to pick up and play Flesh and Blood. Whereas I think that a lot of the sets in the past that have released, I get the sense that LSS, is trying to cater towards, the people who are ready, like getting into Flesh and Blood. And if new people come, that's cool. I feel like
Mhm.
Bright Lights, I feel like they're trying to like push like, hey, try Flesh and Blood.
Anybody can play Fab,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. Come try to
That's the
play Flesh
feeling
and
I got
Blood.
as well.
hmm
Yeah.
And
It's kind of like a starter product for everybody. It's an on-ramp for everybody because it's like let's imagine that you could play limited Magic the Gathering, but everybody was playing with only the color blue,
yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah.
And then everybody's playing blue. Everybody's got awesome stuff. Everybody's going to have a ton of fun and it's very interactive, but at the same time, if you're very skilled and you've got experience, then you can surpass others through your mastery of the game, your understanding of the interactions and the mechanics, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So I think there's something for everyone there, and it sounds promising. And I for one never thought we'd be in a world where you could shuffle up 3 packs of Flesh and Blood
Yeah.
and have a deck and potentially, maybe not play for like calling placement or like worlds placement, or I mean, maybe, but like at least at an event, right? Like play for points at a calling level event or nationals or something like that.
Yeah, I
That'd be a lot
believe
of
I
fun.
believe that the calling in Barcelona is going to be 4 pack sealed, at least for day one.
Oh,
So
really?
yeah, so I mean,
So you don't even need a deck. You just show up and
yeah,
roll
bring
up your sleeves
four packs. That's what you get.
and go to it. That is cool. That is really cool. I do remember playing Callings in Tales of Aria where literally it was draft, right? Was
Yeah.
there a that was in 2021,
hmm
right?
Yeah.
Late 2021, quarter three, quarter four. Yeah, it was I still remember you're like, oh, if you get a lot of reds, play Lexi. If you get a lot of blues, play Oldham. And if you get all sorts of jank, just play Briar and it'll figure itself out.
Yeah.
Right?
It turns out that she should have just been playing Briar every time, but
Oh yeah?
you live and you learn.
You live and learn. Yeah.
So Bright Lights is announced. We might do like a separate video just about this article. There's a lot to talk about. And
yeah, heck yeah.
And the last piece of news to cap it all off, Canada got a distribution update where now Flesh and Blood, I think the original distributor that first decided to take a chance with LSS was called Prince, I believe. Now Universal Distribution. I thought maybe it had something to do with you at first, but I guess not. Maybe like a universal.
Not for Canada. I'm not working in that region. I'm in Asia right now.
It's like, are you just like you got your fingers everywhere? No, but Universal Distribution. I talked to some of my friends who are store owners in Canada just to get a sense before we shot this video of like what is this company like to work with, and they all told me that Universal Distribution is the most prominent card TCG distributor in Canada. They've been in business for over 30 years, and so they are like the most legit of the distributors, that carry these types of products. And I will say that I've heard some not so positive things about how Flesh and Blood was being distributed in Canada in the past. Either that had to do with allocations or whatever.
Pricing, exploitation.
Whatever the case is, I am feeling.
You're so diplomatic about it.
I know. Well, you don't want to say everything. But I did hear that Universal is really good to work with, and I'm just very happy, I think, for all of my friends in Canada who are playing Flesh and Blood, because I think that this is going to be, a great thing for all of the stores that are carrying this game in that part of the world.
This is amazing. Yeah. Having a multi-distributor system so that one distributor does not have a monopoly and potentially is not exploiting the player base as well as the local game store ecosystem. That's going to be great. That's all good news for Canada. I hope to have more distributors carry the game, and I hope this game, spreads like wildfire worldwide. It already is in some regions. We're looking at Asia right now. I'm having some discussions with parties in Asia, as a matter of fact, during my travels here, on exploring how to continue to expand this wonderful game, and I think we're making some headway. So happy to hear more and more regions make it, and hopefully we'll see a Worlds in somewhere in a different continent, not just in the U.S. or not just North America and Europe.
Yeah. So I think that's all the news that we have. It's, as always, I think these videos end up dragging on to about an hour.
Yeah.
There's so much stuff to talk about.
Did we go over an hour?
Yeah.
We might have.
We're just over an hour. So thank you guys all for watching. Remember to like, comment, subscribe.
Exactly. Like, comment, subscribe. But guys, we've been working hard on the Patreon, and we've also been plugging away at the Patreon. We've got some new members, we got some old members. Guys, our Patreon catalog is approaching 30 unique videos, and we're still filming. We presumably will still film even when I'm in Asia, so that we want to keep you guys up to date on the hottest TCG insights and some of the stuff, just, big picture ideas about collecting, about building the proper TCG portfolio, and thinking about this holding in the long term. I know it's not a great environment right now to be buying and holding Flesh and Blood. Admittedly, Dusk Till Dawn prices are not in the best of places, because at this time, within the first, 2 to 4 weeks after release of a set is usually when the prices tank. Yeah. And we're experiencing that right now. But the product is good. The art is beautiful. There's so many great pieces to get in Flesh and Blood. So support us on the Patreon. All the funds go to here and to, Mr. Sexy co-host over there, Yuanji. And that said, Remember to like, comment, subscribe, twiddle that notification button. Hope you liked our little international last month today, and we'll see you next time, guys. Bye.
Bye.
We're back. This time, not eating all that crazy stuff. I gotta eat clean. Got oyster congee that they custom made, fresh oyster congee. We got Japanese seasonal vegetable soup. The lady just gave me a piece of ham by accident. I'm not supposed to eat that, but I might just take a little bit at it. There's Japanese poached egg. There's avocado eggs Benedict, shrimp avocado eggs Benedict, and just a clean vegetable omelet. So, yeah, no bad food here.